Hello and welcome back to my build series for the Dragon Bones downloadable content patch. This build is going to be my Stamina Nightblade build. Let's get right into the skills. On the back bar, we're going to be running Rearming Trap, Endless Hail, Razor Caltrops. Let's talk about Endless Hail. Endless Hail does a ton of damage every half second for 10 seconds, so it's 20 ticks of damage. So you will be using Maelstrom Bow. If not, you just craft one in the correct trait. Razor Caltrops is your second ground-based dot. It does upfront damage, and then it also does damage over time. Every 1 second for 12 seconds. We're running Leeching Strikes, which will heal you and restore stamina every time you attack. And then at the end of it, it will restore up to 4270 additional stamina when the effect ends, based on the length of the time. So basically, you just let this expire, and then when it does expire, you will reapply it during your rotation. Poison Injection is your, basically it's an execute. It's a passive execute in the bow skill line, so you use this because the damage over time deals up to 260% more damage to enemies under 50% health. So, like in any fight, this is a great ability to cast every time. For our ultimate, we're running Incapacitating Strike. This is the Stamina Morph. It does 372 disease damage up front. Stuns overland enemies, bosses it doesn't do that too. And it increases your damage against any enemy for 20%, by 20% for 6 seconds. So it's an amazing ultimate. It's our primary ultimate that we're using because of the sets we're running. And it's so cheap, 70 ultimate. It also, in PvP, people use this a lot too, for the Major Defile. Reduces healing received and health recovery by 30%. Switching to our front bar, we're using Killer's Blade. This is the Stamina Morph of our Execute. We're using this on front bar, of course. It deals 300% more damage to targets at or below 25% health. Heals you for 20% of your max health if the target dies within 2 seconds. It's good for trash pulls if you need a little extra health. Not really. I mean, you should be trusting your healer, honestly. And Stamina Nightblades don't have any room for Vigor or anything like that. So, if you're going to run a Stamina Nightblade, you better be good at standing outside of the red circles. Or cones. Surprise Attack. This is our spammable. This does a ton of upfront damage. And then it also provides Major Fracture, which reduces the physical resistance of any enemy you hit by 5280 for quite a bit of time, honestly. 2 rotations or so. So, as long as you're using this, you're fine. The enemy is always going to be debuffed. This is also a good PvP morph. While you're invisible, it sets an enemy off balance and stuns them for 5 seconds. So it is pretty OP. Rending Slashes is our front bar dot. It does upfront damage immediately, and then it does 12,290 physical damage over 9 seconds, and these can crit. I've seen the dot crit for 12, 13k, sometimes higher, depending on Combat Prayer, Warhorn uptime, Major Slayer, etc. Deadly Cloak. Every Stam class should be running this. It really reduces a ton of damage. 25% damage is reduced every time you use this, and you're taking area of effect damage. It's going to make you much more survivable. Healer's going to love you too. Relentless Focus. You're going to be needing this on your bar. I run it on the front bar because it's easier during rotations to cast this instead of swapping to back bar every time I need to. Build up Deadly Momentum to gain Minor Berserk and Minor Endurance, increasing your damage done by 8% and stamina recovery by 10% for 20 seconds. While active, hitting an enemy with 5 light or heavy attacks changes this ability into Assassin's Scourge, allowing you to fire a single shot from a spectral bow at an enemy to deal 19,340 disease damage. And this crits, you can get some big crits on this. On this guy, self-buffed, I think I've seen crits around like 50k, but I haven't actually done any trials besides Ethereal Archive, and I had to swap before last boss, so I wasn't able to really get a good grasp of what this guy is capable of. But I did DPS test without fully leveled skills, and I got 40k with just self-buffed, no pierce or anything like that. So there's a lot of potential in this build. Flawless Dawnbreaker is our ultimate on front bar. A lot of the reason why we slot this, we don't actually use this, maybe in trash pulls, but we use this for the passive weapon damage increase of 5%. It's a really big increase, to be honest. So those are the skills. Let's get into the gear. I'm running a 5-piece mechanical acuity on the front bar, so I'm running an axe main hand with Nirnhone with a poisoned enchant on it. I'm running a dagger offhand infused with the Berserker enchantment, so that gives you the extra weapon and spell damage. And basically every time you hit with an infused weapon, it will proc the enchant. So it's really sweet. For our bow, it's the Maelstrom's bow. Now I did trait change this from Nirnhone to infused. The reason why I use infused is it's better single target. Stamina, especially a Stamina Nightblade, they don't have a whole lot of cleave, so you're looking to be single target on a Stamina Nightblade. That's why they run full damage usually. So there's that. For my monster set, I'm running Celine's right now. What I would run is, let's say in a trial, I would run Veladrith. Why am I running Celine's? Well, it's kind of a simple answer, honestly. I was getting mixed results in DPS testing with Veladrith because Veladrith it doesn't always hit the skeleton when you're hitting it. So your DPS could be anywhere from 30k to 42, 43k with just a simple rotation, depending on if your Veladrith is actually connecting on the target or not. So Celine's will always connect. So you get a little bit more of a stable result with Celine's, and you can see where you're at. And that's why I'm using it. In a trial, though, I would swap to Veli. So I'm running the Mechanical Acuity, like I said. It's a great set for all classes. Every 13 seconds, you get a 15% chance to gain unerring mechanical vision for 5 seconds. The cooldown is 18. The cooldown starts when it's procced, though. So the cooldown starts at the first, instance that it begins. So that's why I say 13 seconds, because it's not actually the full 18. And then for my second set, I'm going to be using War Machine. War Machine I'm using this for, I have that cheap ultimate that I'm always casting. It's the only ultimate I cast. And it's every second rotation is when it's available, if you're doing your rotation correctly. And so your major Slayer uptime, let's see, 10 seconds. So your major Slayer uptime is, it only has about a 6-second downtime when you're using this on your own. And if you have like one other person running it, or maybe 2 other people running it. That's about the maximum, though, that you'd want. You'd want to be staggering, because the Major Slayer does overlap, and it does kind of like override, actually, the other person's Major Slayer. So the cooldown resets, and you just don't get the maximum uptime that you should be getting with it. I got an infused big piece for the extra stam, and I'm also running blue jewelry because I don't have the gold yet, but it works just the same. It's fine. Shouldn't experience any problems. Alright, so let's get into the champion points. We'll go to the blue CP. I think that's the most important one to know. And this is the result of a lot of my own testing. Running 56 Master at Arms, 40 Thaumaturge, 56 Precise Strikes for the critical strikes. You're going to want to beef this up because you're running Mechanical Acuity. So anytime you actually you crit, you're going to be doing it like 20% more damage. So it's amazing. You know, 25% of the time in the fight, you're going to be doing 20% more damage. Piercing is 24. This is an optimized setup for an optimized group. You don't need a whole lot of piercing, to be perfectly honest. Even to get good numbers in a DPS test, you just don't. 24 is fine. 64 into Mighty. This increases your physical poison and disease damage done, and that's pretty much almost all of our abilities that we have that mean anything. I'll do the Red Tree as well. Red Tree is a very generic setup. I think this was for Ethereal Archive. And then Green Tree, 75 into both recovery and resource return. And that's it for the CP. I also have a rotation video in my builds, my rotations playlist. So if you'd like to check that out, go for it. I will do an in-depth video slowing down the rotation and explaining why I'm doing certain things, just like I did with my Magic and Nightblade rotation video back in Clockwork City, I believe. Anyway, oh yeah, let's check out the... I am using the Warrior, by the way. I do not use the Lover at all. There's no need for it. You get the best results out of the Warrior. 64 points into stamina. I've got almost 20k health. I've got almost 37k stamina on the front bar. And I've got 812 stamina recovery. My weapon damage is 3472. My crit is low because I'm running Mechanical Acuity, and that's how it should be. You don't want to stack crit with Mechanical Acuity. So anyway, that's my build. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If this helped, leave a like, and if you want to see more and you want to see them first, just subscribe. A lot of my builds that I do are easy to obtain. You can get a lot of the gear, especially from the harder trials, in normal trials, and it really isn't that tough to obtain the things that I have in my builds. And I do that for you guys to make sure that you can obtain the highest DPS possible. So I hope that you guys like this, and I'll see you next time.